Namaskar. We are here with the seventh webinar in the series on aesthetics in management. I welcome all the distinguished panelists, resource persons, and guests. I also welcome all the attendees who have joined us today in this webinar. So I'll talk a little bit about aesthetics in management and how sorry. So in this session, we have Dr. Pankaj K. Mishra, Department of Sanskrit and Stephens College, University of Delhi. He will be speaking on the theoretical foundations on the subject. We have two performing artists, Mr. Sumit Anand, who is listed in ICCR Performing Artist category, and he is a PhD in marketing from Faculty of Management Studies. It's my pleasure to introduce Srimati T.M. Vaishnavi. She is MPhil in Bharatnatyam. So these are the two speakers who will join us in this webinar today. Before I request Dr. Pankaj Mishra to talk about his thoughts, I would like to make you walk through what's there in the mind when I thought of this. So aesthetics in management was the first trigger when I was giving a lecture at a School of Leadership, Gonzaga University, Spokane. And there I saw in 2008, and there I saw the faculty was using vase and was the clay with the students and made them do the sessions on leadership. So I was wondering what these students with different musical instruments are doing. Having triggered from there, then I thought that we can think of, the same thing can we have when we do, when we try to understand music and fine arts in our own context. So I'll quickly make you go through something is there, I'm not able to take it. So today we'll basically talking about Natya Shastra, Bharat Muni's Natya Shastra, and based on Bharat Muni's Natya Shastra, we see the reference of Bharat Muni's Natya Shastra, which goes centuries and centuries back. So through that, we will try to understand how we can transform a performing artist into a performing manager. How can the same be part of the management? I remember in 2016, we were doing a VFIM conference at Bangalore. And there was a Bharatnatyam artist. And I asked her, how do you synchronize your bhav and your logical steps? That is the management insights which comes to our mind. And then subsequently, we started in 2015 conference. We had the same theme in the conference we did in Chicago. So with these few words of introduction, now I request Dr. Pankaj Mishra to share his. So Dr. Pankaj.
Pranam to all. I feel happy and honored to be here as a speaker or as a resource person. First of all, I extend my adhamaranata, my kritagyata to ISOL and Professor Sunita Singh Sen Gupta, the founder and honorary convener, who gave this opportunity to me. I would like to pay my gratitude to all the scholars, senior members, and my friends. Now coming to the topic. And as you can see here, my topic is aesthetics in management. Contributions from music, theater, and performing arts. So this particular topic has 3 or 4 technical terms. Amongst them, one is aesthetics. The second one is management. The third is performing arts. So accordingly, first I would like to explain these terms, and then I would present my, the things to here. So the question is here, what is the aesthetics? In second act of Abhigyana Shakuntalam, Vidushak is asking Dushyant about Shakuntala. How's that beautiful lady, that young lady? The Dushyant is saying, replying to Vidushak, friend, anavapta chaktuhu paloditvam. Till now, your eyes didn't get the true beauty, didn't realize the true beauty. My eyes got liberated. I got that bliss of beauty. And accordingly, he's defining that beauty in 2 words. And those 2 words are Labdham Netra Nirvanam. Labdham is first word and Netra Nirvanam is second word. Labdham Netra Nirvanam means मेरी आंखों को मोक्ष मिल गया. Only after getting to Shakuntala, after getting near to Shakuntala, and when I saw that Shakuntala, मेरी आंखों को मोक्ष मिल गया. And the very same way, the mark in Shishupal is also defining that beauty. The kshane kshane nan yan navatam upayati tadeva rupam ramaniyataya. अर्थात जो ब्यूटी प्रतिक्षण हमें नया लगे, जो सौंदर्य हमें प्रतिक्षण नया लगे, ever fresh beauty is the beauty, ये कहता है मार्ग. Accordingly, aesthetics, where this beauty is defined, is known as aesthetics. Where this beauty, in Hindi, in Sanskrit for aesthetics, we have the word Saundarya Shastram, Saundarya Shastra, not Saundarya, Saundarya Shastra. And where this beauty is defined is known as aesthetics. So accordingly, just I'm going to first give you the content. My lectures is based on these things. First, I would like to define aesthetics, then management, then what is arts, then performing arts. And one of the best example of performing arts, I would like to give one example from the, from inscription, then contribution of arts. Again, contribution for the performing arts by our ancient intellects, where I would like to define Bharat Muni and all. And last, conclusion. So here, aesthetics. What is this aesthetics? A branch of intellectuals thinking dealing with the nature of beauty, art, and test with the creation and appreciation of beauty. This is known as beauty. And management. In Sanskrit, they have the word prabandhan. But yes, this prabandhan word is translation of management. Otherwise, this prabandhan is not anywhere in Sanskrit literature used by any poet. This prabandhan word is not used by any poet or any, the Shastra writer in their Shastras or in their literature. So here, management is a set of principles relating to the functions of planning, organizing, directing, and controlling, and the application of these principles in harnessing physical, financial, human, and informational resources efficiently and effectively to achieve organizational goals. Now, what is an art? Art is an expression. We know in Kama Sutra we have 64 arts. Before that, or after that, we have some more arts, there after 64 arts. So art is an expression of all characteristics of the human mind aesthetically. It creates rasa, the varied human emotion. It signifies the ultimate satisfaction of ananda. Art reflects human emotions and human beings spontaneously express their frame of mind through various art forms. Thus, the intellectual mind merges with the artistic streak, giving birth to art. The expression is reflected in various styles like dancing, drawing, architecture, painting, acting, sculpture, etc. Some of these are expressed through the performance and others through visual arts. Sketching, painting, sculpture are visual arts. Singing, dancing, and acting are the performing arts. So now the performing arts. The performing arts is the art from which uses the artist's own bodily gestures, facial expressions, and presence as a medium to create some physical art object. It includes the dance, music, drama, and some other modern arts like circus, gymnastics, or the most ancient art like yoga. Now coming to the example, the best examples of performing arts. We can find these performing arts in Kumar Gupta's inscription of Mandsaur. That particular inscription has 57 verses. Amongst two verses I'm quoting here. In fact, in that inscription, one guild from Lat Desh, from Gujarat, migrated to Mandsaur, and approximately 200 or 300 the members are in that guild, and each and every member has his own characteristic. So accordingly, he's defining those artisans lived in the town in joy and happiness. Shravana subhagam gandharve nye dridham parinishthitah sucharita shata sangah kechid vichitra katha vidah vinaya nibhitah samyak dharma prasanga parayanah priya maparusham patyam chanye kshama bahubhashitam. Means some of them are intentionally attached to music so pleasing to the ear, being proud of the authorship of 100 excellent biographies, are conversant with wonderful tales, filled with humility, are absorbed in excellent religious discourses, and others are able to say much that is pleasing, free from harshness, and yet salutary. And the second verse is, Kechit swakarmani adhikas tathanyera vignayate jyotishamatmabadbhihi athapi chanye samara pragalbha kurvantyarina mahitam prasahyam. Some excel in their own religious rites, likewise by others, who were self-possessed. The science of astronomy was mastered, and others valors in battle. So accordingly, like listening music or singing or performing the storytelling, all these are there, and it is clearly mentioned in this inscription. Now I'm going to define these arts in business world or in management or in any organization, which is, which organizations has some goal. And the essential of arts, you may see here, the shape, the line, the texture, the scale, the proportion, the variety, the rhythm, the depth, the harmony, and the contrast. So accordingly, we would like to explain here what is these arts and how can we use these essentials in business also. So first here is shape. Painters often, in fact, we probably already have an unconscious grasp of aesthetic principles, but we can double their effectiveness by employing them deliberately and skillfully in our surroundings. Some modern thinkers believe, that beauty is universal, connecting our senses with deep evolutionary types. Others say it is associative, drawing its power from ephemeral signals. There are shapes, sounds, scents, juxtapositions, and patterns that push our emotional buttons no matter who we are, where we live, or what we believe in. And there are others that shift with each person's viewpoint or situation. The round proportions of a baby's face hold appeal for all of us, but the round proportions of demons may only hold appeal to those who belong to the demons. The person who understands both types of beauty is a powerful ally, especially when competing against a field of products, services, and business. Let's look at a few of the principles that artists have used successfully to produce aesthetics and see how they might apply to management or any organizational institution. And the first of them is shape. Painters often squint at their work to separate objects from the surrounding field. By getting a good read on the edges of things, they can better focus the viewer's attention. We can call it figure and ground. In management, figure and ground can help to separate the real issues from the others. What's the problem we are trying to solve? Where do we draw the edges of our business? How can we separate ourselves from the competition? The next one is line. Line is a simple device to connect one thing with another, to lead a viewer's eye or a reader's thoughts from point A to point B. It creates a sense of trajectory that suggests emotion. Accordingly, the questions arise. Where is our institution headed? How do our performances and services connect? What does this year's performance say about next year's? If the connections among decisions and events are not clearly delineated, our sense of aesthetics will reveal the problem before the surroundings does. The next is texture. In all forms of art, texture is used to organize complexity and add depth. The composer overlaps chords and melodies to wrap the listener in layers of sound. An artist layers brushstroke over brushstroke to create the intrigue of visual detail. The novelist weaves a spell by threading together plots, subplots, dialogue, and description. Texture is a fact of life, for better or worse, in every institution. Through the concept of texture, we thread together our business, performances, processes, brands, products, features, and communications to create successful environment. The next is scale. Every artist knows that large scale is the shortcut to shattering power. It's not just whimsy that inspired sculpture. Dushyant knew exactly what he was doing when he painted Shakuntala on a mural-sized canvas in Abhigyana Shakuntalam's 6th act. Yaksh of Meghadut needed to confront with the adversaries present before him, Twama Alikhya Pranaya Kupitam in Uttar Megh. But in management, scale can also mean small scale. So, how big must our business be to beat the competition and serve our customers? Where should we upscale? Where should we downscale? What are we doing today that, by increasing our investment in it, would give us a competitive edge or a decisive victory. Now the proportion. The principle of proportion weighs the relationship of one element to another. Artists of all kinds grapple with this issue, but so do management leaders. It is a question of balance. By developing a corporate sense of proportion, these judgments get easier. And those questions are here to solve at the time of business. So next is variety. With large-scale artworks such as symphonies, movies, novels, buildings, towns, etc., it's variety that holds people's interest. In time-based experiences, this also implies pacing. Variety and pacing made it possible to sit through a 2.5-hour play Abhignana Shakuntalam in Kamani Auditorium without watching our watches. Variety in systems performs a different function. It gives the system enough complexity to correct itself and stay healthy. Accordingly, how can variety help us to create a culture of perpetual innovation? How can we use it to spread our exposure to risk? How can we use pacing to keep our customers on the edge of their seats, wondering what delights we will prepare for them next? Rhythm, especially it is directly related to music. Rhythm is essential in music, but it crosses over into other art forms as well. Haradapt and Ganadas of Malavikagnimitram, the second act of Malavikagnimitram, expected the rhythm of innovation from their pupils to restore one's pride. And then again, here are the questions. What kind of rhythm is right for our company? When should we release our new products? How should we change speeds of harness a good economy and a bad economy? The depth. I have pasted some paintings also. So here in depth, the great Kalidas understood the market maximizing power of depth. His plays communicated to every level of audience, from the royal sitting in the top tier boxes to the ground standing common people. His dialogue would shift rhythmically from high philosophy to low humor. His action would alternate between soliloquies of Dushyant and group of fishermen, police, and officers. Did the strategy produce profits? It seems likely, since at the end of the day, they are known as Mahakavi. Yet, the principle of depth can be applied with the equal success to business and brands. Each part of the business, from the internal vision to the external brand, can operate at multiple levels of understanding. Are we communicating our mission and message to every audience? How about our product stories? Do they resonate across regions, segments, and cultures? All the answers of these questions can be get from these aesthetics. The harmony. Harmony is based in the principle of synergy, how the parts work together to do more than they could be separately in music. It might be how the notes sound together. In painting, how the colors look together. In cuisine, how the flavors taste together. And in business, it is how people work together. So, how can we achieve synergy among functions, departments, and divisions? How can we remove dissonance and emphasize alignment? How can we get a complex organization to execute a simple idea? The contrast. In business, cash is king. In aesthetics, it is contrast. Contrast gives artists a way to create drama, big versus small, dark versus light, loud versus soft, fast versus slow, straight versus curved, smooth versus rough, old versus new, and so on. It's contrast that makes art both emotional and memorable. when an organization creates a vivid differentiation between itself and its competitors, it's using the principle of contrast, A versus B, B versus C, and so on. Accordingly, how can we increase the contrast between our brand and those of our competitors? How can we design our products and services so they stand out in a crowded marketplace? How can we make sure that our communications hook in people's minds like melodious songs of Lata and Rafi or poetic management of poet like Kalidas? So I tried to, insert these ideas into the day-to-day business, the current business management. But now I would like to throw some light on the contribution our intellects, the ancient intellects like Bharat Muni, like others, like Sharada Tanay, and so on. So now I'm giving focus on these three major arts, the music, drama, and dance. Music from the immemorial has been the most popular art form of India. The earliest tradition of Indian music is traced to Samaveda, which contained the mantras that were put to music. Chanting of Vedic hymns with prescribed pitch and accent still form a part of religious rituals. And for this accent, we have Udat, Anudat, and Swarit. Even Panini also defined this accent, Samahara Swaritah, Uchchairudatah, Nichairudatah, etc. The earliest text dealing extensively or exclusively with performing arts is Bharat Natya Shastra, compiled between 2nd century BC or 2nd century AD. So it is not the time to define the history of Bharat Muni, but yes, he is the earliest, the Natya Shastra writer, which has 6 chapters. That Natya Shastra has 6 chapters on the 6 chapters of music is on, is there in Natya Shastra. Another major text is Matanga's Brihad-deshi, compiled between 8th and 9th century AD. In this work, ragas were first named and discussed at great length. The name of ragas is first named in that Brihad-deshi in 9th century AD. Sangeeta Ratnakar of Sarangadev mentions 264 ragas. A variety of string and wind instruments were invented over the period of time. In ancient texts, reference have been made to flutes. The reference of flutes can be traced in Kumar Sambhavam, in Abhignana Shakuntalam of Kalidas. Drums, veena. The very, very famous veena is described in Swapna Vasavdattam of Bhash, where the veena is playing role of bridge between Vasavdatta and Udayan. And it is so dear to Vasavdatta, after getting that veena, the name of that veena is Ghoshavati. Udayan says, Chirap prasupta kamo me, veenaya pratibodhita, tam tu devim na pashyami, yasyaha Ghoshavati priya. Name of that veena is Ghoshavati. So in our ancient text, these, the instruments are mentioned. Many rulers such as Samudragupta, King Bhoj of Dhar, and King Someshwar of Kalyan patronized music. The Gupta king Samudragupta was himself an accomplished veena player. In the 12th century, Jayadev produced the most brilliant raga kavya, the Gita Govind. Lalita Lavanga Lata Parishilana Komala Malaya Samire, Madhukara Nikara Karambita Kokil Kujita Kunja Kutire. This verse is from Gita Govind. Each song of this Gita Govind was set in a rag and was composed on the theme of love. Accordingly, Kalidas also in the 4th act of Vikramorvashyam is composing his verses in certain ragas, and he is directing for those, the verses, raga like Dhruva and all the Saranga raga. So all these things are mentioned in the Vikramorvashyam. The musical tradition of India has always been a form of meditation, concentration, and worship. The melodious sound of music can evoke the innermost emotions and moods of the audience, connoisseurs, and non-connoisseurs alike. Now, the dance. Like music, Indian dance has always developed a rich classical tradition. It has a great power of expression and emotions while telling, narrating, or performing a story. Vedic mentions dance and danseuse and compares the brilliant dawn Usha to a brightly attribed danseuse. In the Jaimini and Kaushitaki Brahmanas, dance and music are mentioned together. In traditional Indian culture, the function of dance was to give symbolic expression to religious ideas. The figure of Lord Shiva as a Nataraj represents the creation and destruction of the cosmic cycle. The popular images of Shiva in the form of Nataraj clearly shows the popularity of dance from the Indian people. There is not a single temple, at least in the southern part of the country, which does not show the sculpture of the dancers in their different forms. It is difficult to say at what point of time dance originated, but it is obvious that dance came into existence as an effort to express joy. Gradually, dances came to be divided as folk and classical. The classical form of dance was performed in temples as well as in royal courts. Even in Malvika Gnivittam, we can see the dance of Malvika in a royal court. The dance in temples had a religious objective, whereas in courts it was used purely for the entertainment. In both cases, for the artist devoted to this art form. As far as the analytical study of this art form is concerned, the Natya Shastra of Bharat is a primary source of information and basically deals with drama. Bharat has discussed dance and its various angas in detail. Facial expression, body movements, hasta mudras, and the footsteps have all been brought together under their broad categories, namely as nritya, pada sanchalan, nritya, anga sanchalan, and natya, that is abhinay. Dance has an important role in every individual's life as it expresses their joys, sorrows, and celebration. Now, the drama. Drama is a performing art which has also been practiced since times immemorial. Indigenous tradition as well as modern research traces the origin of drama to the Vedas. In the Ramayana, we hear of drama troupes of women, while Kautilya's Arthashastra mentions musicians, dancers, and dramatic shows. In the 2nd century BC, Patanjali's Mahabhashya refers to several aspects of drama, that is the actors, the music, the stage, ras in the performances called Kamsavad and Balibandh. Bharat also wrote a plays, namely Samudra Manthan. While referring to drama, Bharat has mentioned Nat, that means male artist, and Nati, female artist, music, dance, musical instruments, dialogues, themes, and stage. Thus, we find that drama achieved a great level of perfection during the age of Bharat. In fact, Bharat clearly says, Natas jnanam natat chilpam nasa vidya nasa kala naso yogo natat karma natyasmin yanna drishyate. वह ज्ञान ज्ञान नहीं, वह योग योग नहीं, वह कर्म कर्म नहीं, वह शिल्प शिल्प नहीं, वह कला कला नहीं, वह विद्या विद्या नहीं, जो इस नाटक में न पाया जाए. So it is clearly mentioned in Natya Shastra about the characteristic and about the importance of this play, this drama. So for Bharat, so thus we find that drama achieved a great level. For Bharat, drama is a perfect means of communication. He also started the concept of an enclosed area of drama. There is mention of a community called Shailush, which had professional drama companies. At the time of drama, the professional drama companies were there. The practice of singing heroic tales became popular. As a result, professional singers called Kushi Lavas came into existence. Nowadays, we are using this word Kushi Lava for actor. The person who acts, for that we are using in Sanskrit Kushi Lava. In the ancient period till the 10th century, the language of the common people was Sanskrit, so dramas were performed mostly in this language. Kalidasa's plays are written in Sanskrit. Bhas was another celebrated dramatist who wrote 13 plays. He wrote plays based on the stories of Udayan and Vasavadatta, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, Swapna Vasavdattam being his masterpiece. Prakrit plays became popular by the 10th century AD. In the context of drama, two types of drama developed. The classic drama, which had intricacies of theme and subtle nuances of dramatic traits, and the second one is folk theater. It was of spontaneous and extempore nature. Local dialects was used in folk theater, and hence in different provinces, many types of folk theaters developed. Acting with accompaniment of music and dance was a popular practice. The Natya Shastra has led the structure of music, dance and drama, love, humor, pathos, anger, heroism, terror, disgust, wonder, and serenity are the navaras or 9 emotions which are fundamental aesthetics. Now the conclusion. The association of people with these art forms definitely makes us better human beings. On the very nature of music, dance and drama elevates human soul and creates a pleasant atmosphere. The knowledge and practice of these art forms help in the development of one's personality. The people involved in these art forms can attain balance and peace, architecture mind, self-restraint and love for all. Negative feelings vanish as the soul of music, dance and drama teaches us all about loving and caring. Last but not the least, here I would like to quote from the Niti Shatkam, where the Bhartrihari clearly says, Sahitya Sangeeta Kalavihina, Sakhat Pashu Puchcha Vishanahina, Triyam Nakhadan Napi Jivamana, Tadbhagadheyam Paramam Pashunam. A person destitute of literature, music, or the arts is as good as an animal without a tail or horns. It is the good fortunes of the animals that he doesn't eat grass like them. Thank you very much. Once again, thank you to Ma'am Sunita Sen Gupta ji. You have given this opportunity to me to express my small, the research, or you may say my thought before this august audience. Once again, thank you to all. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Pankaj Mishra. It was wonderful, and particularly your pronunciation of Sanskrit words was amazing, very clear, बहुत ही साफ और स्पष्ट थी, जो बहुत ही अच्छा लगा, and आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. Your speech has set the tone, and we'll see from other two speakers what they bring to this. But I would like to, what I could not share in the beginning, talk about a little bit more about this. For today's session, Dr. Tahsin Mandal is the report here, and Dr. Tahsin Mandal is a research associate. The ICS has sponsored research project on Vedic Foundation of Indian Management. And I will request Dr. Mondal to take the question answer in the end and share his detailed report. So now may I request Mr. Sumit Anand. Is Sumit here? Sumit Anand?
Good evening. Good evening, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening. Yeah.
Thank you very much for inviting me for this session, Professor Dr. Sunita Singh Sengupta ma'am and ISOL Foundation. Very, very honored to be here in front of such learned scholars, speakers, teachers. I really enjoyed Dr. Pankaj Mishraji's presentation. As an artist, also, there's a lot more to learn, particularly in the discourse that you presented on Bharat Muni's Natya Shastra. The way I have structured my session, I hope
Can
I
go
have
till 45 minutes.
45 minutes. Thank you,
Yeah.
ma'am. So I have a few slides, but in retrospect, I think most of the things that I wanted to talk about, management and aesthetics and how they come together in music, have been touched upon by Dr. Mishra in his talk. I will quickly run through them. Uh, a big part of my presentation also involves a demonstration of the art form that I consider myself a student of, lifelong practitioner of Drupad. Drupad, as many of you may already know, is the oldest Hindustani classical art form that is still in practice. In the classical world, we are particularly blessed to have two, not one, but two classical art forms, which we call as the Hindustani classical, which is primarily practiced in North India, and the Carnatic classical or South Indian classical, which is practiced in the southern part of the country. So, as far as Hindustani classical or North Indian classical music is concerned, Drupad is believed to have originated somewhere in uh, between 13th to 15th century, and since then it has been propagated through Guru Shishya Parampara. Our training, our talim, our shiksha is predominantly in the oral tradition. So what we call Gurumukh Vidya. We have to surrender ourselves to our Guru and learn from them. Um, Another term that is used in the Muslim tradition for this is Sina Basina Talim, that you sit with your Guru, Sina Basina, face to face, and then you imbibe knowledge from them. So that is how it has been propagated. Uh, I will just at this moment share the slides that. Okay, just a moment. Yeah. Very briefly about myself, when ma'am asked me to do a presentation in this particular stream, I wasn't very surprised. It's a matter of great fortune as well as delight to me because I am a combination of a management personnel and a music professional. Though my life journey started in a musical family, I belong to a Drupad tradition in Bihar known as the Darbhanga Drupad tradition. Uh, and I started learning music from a very early age from both my grandfathers, मेरे दादा और मेरे नाना, दोनों ही बहुत ही ख्याति प्राप्त ध्रुपद के कलाकार हुए. I hope it's okay if I switch to Hindi in some places because in any case I'll be using some terms which are best explained in Hindi.
Yeah, it's fine.
Thank you, ma'am. Uh, my formal education was in science and management, both from University of Delhi, and I worked in the corporate sector for over a decade. First 5 years was full time, but later I realized that I need to commit myself to this art form to be able to get anywhere with it, and that's when I started pursuing music more like full time. As ma'am had already mentioned, I am an empaneled artist of ICCR and also graded from All India Radio, and I broadcast from the Delhi Kendra. Uh, so yes, I will just give my understanding of what the topic aesthetics and management meant to me, followed by a short demonstration of Drupad recital. And I would also touch upon some aspects as Dr. Mishra was presenting. He touched upon some aspects. For example, he talked about contrast. And I was just thinking to myself how we use contrast, and maybe many musicians and use it uh, unknowingly. It's part of the talim, but it's so nice to have a theoretical understanding to see how we are deliberately bringing in contrast to create that effect. A little bit about Drupad itself. I'll speak Indian classical music, and then aesthetics, and then I will see and try and combine how management and aesthetics come together. So I won't spend much time here. It's already been covered, and all of us know, yes, a set of principles aimed towards administration of organization, and the steps that we all know all about harnessing, resources, and we're talking about efficiency here. But for me, the key learning here is it emphasizes on tangibility. It emphasizes on measurability. It emphasizes on productivity. It emphasizes on efficiency and results. So that is the dominant management thinking, which is very, very quantitative led. So there's nothing wrong in it, but in my understanding, it has to be complemented by the qualitative and the softer aspects, which is what I think arts and performing arts in particular, and thinking and aesthetic led thinking brings to the table. And that's where when we reflect upon this term aesthetics, which is Saundarya Shastra in Hindi or Sanskrit, it's concerned with nature and appreciation of beauty. Now, from nature, it has come to performing arts as well. And in my understanding, one of the main reasons for that is all our classical art forms are in some way or the other actually inspired by nature. So even if we look at the 7 swaras, Sare Gama Padhani, that we sing, the reference is actually made to elements in nature. कि हाथी के चिंघाड़ने की जो आवाज है, उससे जो निषाद स्वर है नी, उसकी फ्रीक्वेंसी आई है. इस तरीके से नेचर से कनेक्शन है. There are ragas which are based on ऋतुओं के ऊपर, seasons के ऊपर, मेघ, मल्हार. Time of the day plays an important role. So, and this is particular to the Hindustani classical music system. We follow the prahar system. The 24 hours are divided into 8 prahar, each being of 3 hours. And some people think that this is arbitrary, but the research is going on. But one dominant understanding also says that it's actually linked to the sun and its energy. So it's linked to the cycle of day and night and the kind of rays that we receive and what energy it invokes. Because eventually when we are singing or playing or any form of music, these are sound waves. We call it nad. So nad is the musical sound. Anahat nad, which we cannot hear, and ahat nad. So most of our music is based on ahat nad, that we make an impact and we produce a sound, and that musical sound we call music. So that's where aesthetic comes into picture, and suddenly we are talking about softer aspects like feelings, emotions, interpretation, which itself is subjective, and hence it involves an individual's judgment, which could be intuitive and emotion led also. Till this point, it seemed a bit disjointed in its existence as to how management and aesthetics come together. And through this demonstration and followed by discussion, I will try and bridge that gap and maybe showcase how they actually complement each other. These are some of the music instruments that are used in Dhrupad style. Dr. Mishra already talked about veena, which is also called bean. In those times, it was referred to as bean, not the wind instrument bean, which is used by the snake charmer, but bean is the name also used for veena. And our belief is that actually all the string instruments are derived from the veena. For example, what we see today as santur is actually described as shatatantri veena in our ancient texts. So a veena which has 100 strings. On the left, you see a tanpura. This is the drone instrument that is primarily used for accompanying Dhrupad vocal. So in Dhrupad vocal, we do not use harmonium because harmonium is a reed instrument. So the position of the notes are fixed. In Dhrupad, we believe that the musical notes are actually flowing. So from one position to the other, it's a continuous movement. So we just use the drone instrument tanpura on which Dhrupad is sung, or any instrument which uses a bow and string technique like a sarangi or a violin, and of course veena. That can also produce all the sounds which can be practically produced by a human voice. The instrument in the middle that you see is actually a pakhavaj. Pakhavaj is a type of mridang. This barrel-shaped drum family is called mridang, and pakhavaj is the North Indian variation of this drum. In Carnatic music, you still see a mridangam, which also looks like this, but the sound is different. The playing technique are also different. This pakhavaj uses this black circular thing that you see. It's called syahi on one side, which is the treble side of the drum, and on the other side, it's very unique and interesting. It actually uses dough, गेहूं का आटा गूंद करके वो उस मेम्ब्रेन पे लगाया जाता है और फिर उससे एक बेस साउंड निकल के आता है. So these are the instrument. These are some of the maestros of the Banga tradition, starting with Padma Shri Pandit Ramchatur Malik, Pandit Siaram Tiwari, my grandfather, and Pandit Abhainarayan Malik, my Guruji. I will just switch to a short demonstration here at this stage. What I thought is I'll present a short alap in Rag Bhimpalasi, because that is the Rag which belongs to this Prahar. There are many Rag, but in this Prahar, Bhimpalasi is sung, and I will sing a text which is in praise of Lord Shiva, is set to Sultal. And as we go along, I will try and talk you through some of the things that are mentioned here as to how we try and find balance in the swar and lay. And while the years of training is all about getting the grammar right, getting the composition right, it's like a curve, and when we sort of get on top of our talim is when we realize it's actually all about forgetting all this and trying to invoke the bhav with a feeling of surrender. But it's a journey which one has to traverse through. And in the Hindustani classical music systems, our belief is in Guru Shishya tradition. So believe in that, which is all about discipline, patience. Some people misunderstand that Guru Shishya tradition means you cannot ask questions. I would like to bust that myth here. It's absolutely incorrect. You are encouraged to be inquisitive, actually. You should ask questions, just that you should know how and when. And a good guru will always encourage their students to be inquisitive and not take things on face value. A very famous saying goes like, Dekhe, Sikhe, Parkhe. So that is how we learn in our Guru Shishya tradition. We learn by seeing, by observing, and that's how we learn. And then the most important aspect is to parakhna, which means you have to अपनी कसौटी पे आप उसको तौल के देखें कि does it make sense to you or not. So only when you understand it and you're convinced is when you internalize it. So it's not about rote learning. And of course, self-discovery, finding the right expression, really realizing one's potential. And this is all about enabling and empowering. This is not about creating dependency. A guru's job is to show you the path and teach you how to walk, and but not hold your hand forever. Eventually, you have to come out of their shadow and be independent. So it's also a balance of width and depth and multitask and specialist. So these seemingly opposite expression, they go hand in hand, and that's why for me the essence of this particular slide here is balance, santulan. It emphasizes a lot on sanyam and santulan. So I'll just switch to I'll come back to share mode, but before that, you can hear me. Just give me 1 minute to set my So I'll present Rag Bhim Palasi, a short alap and a composition set to Sultal. And I take permission from all of you and seek your blessings before I begin. If somebody could tell me if the Tanpura is audible and my voice is coming through.
Yeah, everything is fine.
Thank you. So in Drupad style, the musical notes are the same, Sare Gama Padhani, but we use the Strot Om Ananta Hari Narayan, and we use that to invoke the rag and sing the swaras. So we use the syllables like Nom, which is actually the ending syllable of Om. Om, Nom, Ananta, Hari, Ri, Na, Narayan. So Ta, Na, Ri, Ta, Nom. These syllables we are using and we will sing the rag. Oh. Nara. Ananta. Hari. Om. Hari. Re. Nari. Re. Na. Re. No. Na. Re. Na. Re. Re. Na. Re. Narita. Ri. Na 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 ri ra ri ra ta na ri ri ra ra na re na ra na ri ra na ta na ri ra na 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 re na re no re na re re no ta la ri ra na na ri ra no na 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 ri 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 ra no ri ra ra ta la na ri na na ri ra no ri da na ri ra no ri ra ra no ri na ri ra na na. So this is a very short, I would say short outline of the rag Dimpalasi, and the alap has three portions, as it was mentioned earlier in the Samvedic tradition, which Drupad owes its allegiance to. Initially, they were just sung in three notes: Udat, Anudat, Swarit. The lower note, higher note, and Swarit, the middle note. Only three. And after this alap, we sing the Madhya alap, where actually a pulse, a tempo kicks in. Ta na re ra na na re ra na re ra na na. So you see, there is already like a movement, pulse kind of movement happening in this, and it is believed that it comes from the Vedic tradition of chanting, when the Rishi Munis used to do the shloka chanting using their hand gesture in a particular, tempo. Om Gana Gana Pate, something like this. Unfortunately, some Vedic tradition of chanting, I hope it's not lost, but not very popular. Maybe we'll have to go to Varanasi or some other religious places to see the priest do this in Brahma Muhurat at 4 in the morning. So musically, how it's adapted. Na na ri ra ra ri ra no na na ri ra ra na. So instead of Tanari Re Tanum, if I just sing the musical text to give you an understanding of the Shastra, ni 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 sa 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 ni sa pa ni sa ga re sa 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 re ni sa ma 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 ga ga sa ga ma ma ga ga ma sa ma ga ga ma ga 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 ma pa 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 ma pa ma ma pa ga ma ga re re sa 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 re ra na ri no So this is perhaps one part where I should highlight this important point as to why the Dhrupad style is called Nad Yoga. Nad, as we all know, musical sound. And these are actually yogic kriya. Nowadays, yoga has become very popular and we know about pranayama. When we are doing this musical embellishment called gamak, so you are facilitating through the throat, but it is originating in the thoracic region. So if we are familiar with Kapalbhati, so I don't know how much is transmitting on the Zoom platform, but if you are able to get this exhalation. And we have to sit with the backbone. The Merudand has to be straight. So these performances, we have to sit cross-legged on a flat surface. So right now I'm sitting on a platform, otherwise we sit on the floor, and that is how it is performed. And then in the final section, when it gains more tempo, that is called the Drut Alap, or what is also known as Jhala these days in the instrumental music parallels. So in very short, this is how performance unfolds. So alap, then madhyalay alap where the pulse kicks in, and then the drut alap where we do these faster movements, and all is basically breathing control, and we try to find the swar as well as the sukshma swaras, or shruti as we call them, the place between the notes, microtones. So ma, ga, these are two positions, but na, we create a continuous movement, glide, which is called mean, and this is speciality of Hindustani classical music. In our, like for the Indian classical music, we have use of mean and gama. So I will quickly sing a composition. We use pakhavaj for accompaniment, which is here, but unfortunately I don't have anyone to play it with me. So I will take help of technology and play it through an application. Not as good as live, but something is better. So this is Sultal, which is a 10-beat cycle. Are you able to hear the sound of the pakhavaj?
Yeah,
Ha
we
da
can.
din ta kit dha tete kate gadi gana 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 1. So this is where art meets science. So mathematics comes in, and now we will have to sing, and of course the first objective is to adhere to the sur and lay and tal, but then at some stage, because singing use words, we have to emote as well. This one is a praise of Lord Shiva. Shambhu Harare, Shambhu Harare, Gangadharare, Gangadharare, Kamati Janamani Chintamani Kalpa Vriksha Kamadhenu Kama Sampurana Karare Shambhu Harare Shambhu Harare Gangadharare Kamati Janamani Chintamani Kalpa Vriksha Kamadhenu Kama Sampurana Karare Shambhu Harare Shambhu. So this is Thai, and there are 3 more parts called Antara, Sanchari, Abhog, which have their own aesthetic arrangement and rules by which they are governed. I would perhaps not go in that much detail right now, but just with this Thai, I would like to touch upon the bhav aspect, as Dr. Mishra talked about the Navrasa and the bhav that we present. And I was just thinking that when I'm singing this composition, what bhav do I emote? So for me, as an artist, or maybe as a practicing Hindu, the bhav of bhakti ras is what comes to me naturally. But this can be sung in various ways, because this is in praise of Lord Shiva, and it talks about the physical manifestation of Shiva. Gangadharare, Shambhu Harare Gangadharare. So it could also be in a way Shringar, and then that can be depicted through the performance. Shambhu Harare, Shambhu Harare, Gangadharare, 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 Kamati Janamani Chintamani Kalpa Vriksha Kamadhenu Kama Sampurana Karare Shambhu. Now there is a request, Kam Sampurana Karare. So there has to be devotion, and with a Shant Bhav. We cannot be Raudra or Veer in requesting. Kamati Janamani Chintamani Kalpa Vriksha Kamadhenu Kama Sampurana Karare Shambhu Harare Shambhu. Karadhara Trishula, Karadhara Trishula, Trilochana re. Karadhara Trishula, Trilochana re. Mat Matangi Kali, Katiyambar re. Neelakanta Bhasma, Bhushana re. Manigana Mukta Mala, Karadamaru Dhara re Shambhu. Now the antara, the words are different. This is talking about Karadhar Trishul, Trilochan, Bhasma Anga Bhushan. So this is describing the Raudra Roop of Shiva. So even the musical notes, they go up the scale. Karadhara Trishula, Karadhara Trishula, Trilochana re, Mat Matangi Kali, Katiyambar re, Nilakanta Bhasma Bhushana re, Manigana Mukuta Mala, Karadamaru Dar re Shambhu, Har re Shambhu, Har re Shambhu, Har re, Har re, Har re re Shambhu, Har re Shambhu, Har re Ganga, Dhar re Kamati Janamani Kamadenu Kalpa Vriksha Kama Sampurana Kar re Shambhu, 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 Har re Gangadhar re. So this in a sketch, in the end, what I was doing are improvisations, and that's also an interesting part. And when I come back to my slides, I would try to make some connections with the aesthetics and the principles that we follow of aesthetics and how they are sort of linking back to management. So after all this theoretical framework of raga, swara, and tal, what we are essentially doing is upaj. Upaj means spontaneous improvisations, not fixed. They are fixed in the sense they are still in the framework of the rag and the tal, but the patterns are not pre-decided. In the moment, we take leap of faith, and yes, with more practice and talim, we become more and more confident of what we do. But there is still that element of uncertainty, and that is what is the joy of performing art. That it is, yes, practiced, but it is not rehearsed in the sense that we go and replicate the same thing. Each time you listen to a classical performance, the same rag, the same tal, the same composition, but they will have that element of newness. And that's what I think is very useful. I'll just stop my camera for a second to come back to the presentation. Yeah, this is an interesting part, the harmony of mind, body, and soul. When we talk about the vast body of knowledge that our ancestors developed, who also benefited from the Vedic wisdom, of course, uh, in the form of classical music or literature, for that matter. Yes, this is a great amount of intellectual work. But at the same time, when it's adapted into a performing art, which has to be demonstrable. So now these are not mere concepts, but a practical discipline, which requires a disciplined mind, a healthy body, the rigor in practice, or riyaz, or as we call sadhana in Hindi, or I think Sanskrit maybe. And then, of course, this is a never-ending path, a journey. So our belief is that it's not like there is a starting point and then there's an end point. This is a journey which goes on, and there could be milestones on the way, but there is no final end. The expression that is used in the musical parlance is Nad Vistara Parampar. The expanse of the musical sound is unfathomable, it's infinite. So we cannot kind of sail through. We just have to, उसमें हमें गोते लगाने हैं, डुबकी लगानी है, और हम सब गोते डुबकी लगा रहे हैं. So that brings also a sense of humility. With all that practice and knowledge, it's natural. We are human. Some kind of maybe superiority or arrogance may set in, but this reminds us to stay humble. It's infinite. At the end of the day, even if you are able to sing one swara, one rag with perfection, I think our life is, the purpose of our life is served. And then of course soul. And this is where the Drupad philosophy is something to learn from. This art form, despite being now a performing art, does not believe in exhibitionism. So right now, because this is a demonstration and session, I'm going about explaining, but this is all about immersion and inner bliss, the inner journey. So you have to surrender to the divine form that you believe in, and that you're worshiping through the nad, and forget yourself. So it is not about showing virtuosity or artistry or great exhibition as to how fast I can go, how deep I can go, how many rag I know. And it's at the end of the day, knowing all that, but forgetting everything to be one, with the force that you believe in. So coming back to aesthetics in management, there is also something called management of aesthetics, which is a separate thing, which is how art management is done, performance and exhibitions. But sticking to aesthetics in management, which is actually both uh, ethics and economics for business decision, and how performing art we can benefit from, the importance of this participatory knowledge, because uh, it's embodied. You have to be in it, you have to experience it, and through experience you are communicating. There is verbal, there is also non-verbal. As we say, it's said in our ancient text, Geetam Vadam Tatha Nityam Trem Sangeet Muchyate. So it's not just singing, it's not just playing instrument, it's not just dance. In our system, when they all come together, that is what constitutes music, which is different from the Western philosophy where they call music and dance. So music is playing instrument and singing, and dance is dance. But in our system, we say Geetam Vadyam Tatha Nityam Trem Sangeet Muchyate. So actually, even when a singer is singing, he's also in a way emoting. My hand gestures, my facial expression, and through them I'm dancing. And the same applies to a instrumentalist and say a dancer too. They also emote. So this is all about sense-based. When we say aesthetics in management, it emphasizes on, in my understanding, sense-based perception. We talk about those five, sensorials that we know, but the embodied way, and when you talk about embodiment and the experience of living through, that brings out a very important aspect of empathy. And this, I feel, is a very, very important and strong aspect that we need to touch upon. Uh, as humans, as a society, to prosper, to collectively grow, we need to have a strong sense of empathy, which somehow maybe takes a backseat with this whole focus on performance and measure and control and all those kind of things. But at the end of the day, we are here to grow collectively and not as individuals. And that's where I bring my session to the last slide. And this is the shift I felt the aesthetic view can bring in, where the classical management thinking talks about performance pressure. With an aesthetic view, we can talk about compassion, which is non-threatening. Performance could at times be threatening. We're talking about profit maximization on the left, which is the classical management thinking, but we bring in an aesthetic view about enjoying and appreciating finer things in life. And this could be about life enrichment, because at the end of the day, it's about happiness and eventually leading to inner bliss. So ananda, and from exploitation of resources to optimization of assets. So look at them as your own, not externalize them. The moment we say resource, I think the understanding is we are externalizing them. But when we say assets, they're part of ours, and we're talking about optimizing them with a long-term view, not draining out or not burning out. And the other one is aligning to one right. So there is one dominant, and that is right, versus accepting the diversity and having the generosity to include and prosper together. That's what aesthetic view brings in. Very hierarchical to empathy, as I said earlier. And so this whole winner-loser thing, so either you have it or you don't have it, versus collaborative, where you work as a team towards a common goal. And in that process, everybody, I would say, benefits and wins. So in my understanding, if I bring in the aesthetic thinking to management practice, this is how I see the shift in some of the philosophy that we follow in management, which could actually bring in a lot more compassion, harmony, empathy, and be more inclusive. So with that, I would close my talk and once again thank you everyone for listening in. Namaskar.
Thank you, Sumit. That was wonderful and exactly what I thought. So you very beautifully talked about the experience going through and how the senses can be aroused and integrated, and how it leads all together a different culture and leadership style in management. Now, before I request Vaishnavi, I've been trying this, wanted to show this. I don't know what's going wrong with this. There. So I just need 1 minute, which we can very beautifully summarize what Sumit also said, but it's not coming again, maybe in the end. So now I request Vaishnavi. Vaishnavi is a Bharatanatyam artist, and we had from Sumit Anand, who's a Dhrupad style singer, and up to Vaishnavi.
Namaste. A very good afternoon to all. I'm Vaishnavi and I'll be sharing my thoughts on aesthetics and management in the view of a dance and as a dancer myself. I thank for this beautiful day to the great Almighty, my parents, and my family. And a special thanks to Sunita ji, founder and conveyor of Vedic Foundations and Indian Management, for offering me this wonderful opportunity. I'm very sure I'll be the youngest among all this great and honorable people, but I'm just here to share my thoughts on the topic that I have. Theater and dance, it's a very vast subject. It's just like an ocean, and the knowledge we have in it will be compared only to a drop. Even then, sharing our ideas like this will help us to expand the horizon, and sharing this knowledge will especially help us to know many new things, just like how Sri Sumit Anandji, it was a very interesting context that he was demonstrating, and Sri Pankaj Mishra ji, who also correlated the management techniques with in his beautiful Sanskrit dictum. I have heard my father reading Sanskrit, and I have always been jealous that I'm not able to speak so fluently, though I could understand here and there because my bringing up is in that way. Anyways, yet sharing what we know expands our horizon of learning, as I said before. Aesthetic, according to me, is an appreciation of beauty. Art itself has a beauty on its own. Relating the concept of management with dance, I could say the dancer is the seller, whereas the audience is the customer. And the few of the nuts and bolts that the seller, that is the dancer, need to know to sell her product, which is a performance, to her client, that is the audience, is briefed here in few theoretical aspects of dance. Having said that, let me begin with a brief introduction on the origin of Bharatanatyam. I'm beginning the screen share. Just give me a minute, please. And here we are. Just one moment. That's just a brief introduction about me, and nothing much more to be added. I've been in the field of dance with 25 plus years experience, and I'm running my dance school in my home as a dance studio, and imparting knowledge that what I have with the young minds is the most enriching experience that I've ever felt. And what do I know about management? All that I know and I am implementing in dance, I think it is all directly related to management. just how a dancer herself balances her practice and her preparations for the performance. Apart from that, being a mother, seeing to the routine of the household, getting her kids ready with their works without any kind of loose ends left, and then preparing her own self. Itself is a management. Itself is a technique that involves managerial skills. That's what I would frankly say. Now, the most theoretical aspects related to management was touched base very beautifully by Dr. Pankaj Mishra ji and later by Sumit Anand ji too. So instead, let me share a few very interesting details that is with dance. And according to my knowledge, I relate that to the management side. And I don't know if I am very clear or correct in that aspect. If it is wrong, kindly excuse me, and you have all the rights to correct me too. First, let me give you a brief introduction of the origin of Bharatanatyam, as I said. Now, let us talk about it as a story, just like how I explain it to my students, the story of Bharatanatyam, just in a story way. One fine morning, God Brahma, the creator, he was addressed with a problem of the common people who don't know Sanskrit. They are not able to enjoy the Rig, Yajur, Sama, Atharvana Vedas. So this needs to be solved because they also need to know what is the essence of these Vedas, these four Vedas. And Brahma, he himself thought about it and he thought, why not create a fifth Veda, which is common to all the people, even who don't know Sanskrit or any other technical languages. And so now he takes the position of a leader, just in terms of your management topic. He takes the position of a leader and he starts planning how to put this through, how to create the fifth Veda, that is the Natya Veda. So he has ideas, but he needs to implement it. And so he needs an assistant who will work on it and implement it and bring it out in a very beautiful way, in an enjoyable way. So he calls upon Bharata Muni, who is very, very much well equipped with all the dance aesthetics and music knowledge and everything. So he calls him and he says, see, this is the plan. We are in a need to create a Veda which is enjoyed by everyone, not just the Devas, not just the demons, but all the commoners, everyone. And the Veda should be in such a way that it shouldn't be complicated. It should be enjoyed by everyone with ease, with very much of ease. So now Bharata thinks about it and he says, the plans, please discuss the plans that you have on creating this fifth Veda. So Lord Brahma, he says, let us take the Patyam, which is recitation, also called as recitation from Rig Veda, Abhinaya, or the way of expressing our emotions from the Yajur Veda, and then the Geetam, or the melody, or the music from the Sama Veda, and the emotions that has to be invoked in the audience from the Atharvana Veda. This way, we will get a wholesome new Veda, which will convey the essence of the other four Vedas to the commoners. So that is how this fifth Veda, Natya Veda, was created. So when they tried to put this all together and to enact on a playhouse, the stage that is called as playhouse in terms of Natya Shastra, the book of dramaturgy, it lacked grace. Actually, it lacked grace, and Bharata Muni, he himself felt women. What is lacking in this is women, the beautiful dancers. If there are also women, then the presentation would go really beautifully well. So then, okay, so the next problem, and they need to solve this. So they go to Lord Shiva and they ask his opinion on how this can be done. Brahma creates the Apsaras, who can easily grasp this knowledge and can present it beautifully in the form of dance. And Lord Shiva encourages this and requests Goddess Parvati to help teach the Apsaras the movements, the feminine movements, which we call as Lasya. So finally, The male and the female, the men and the women dancers are very, very much ready. And one fine day, an auspicious day is set, and the stage is set by the none other than the great Vishwakarma, the divine architect. They named the play as the Amrita Madanam, and all the demons and the devas and everyone are there to witness the play. And once they see the play, they are just mesmerized. Not only the devas and demons, also those who are there to help them, who don't know anything about the Veda, they are also totally absorbed by the play. So from the result of the play, they came to a conclusion, it's a success. The fifth Veda is a success. And let us start spreading it to the commoners among the common world. And so they sent Tandu sage. Tandu is another Muni who was sent to the earth to spread this beautiful art to whoever lived in this world. So that's how the story goes. And it's such a beautiful and very logical story. It didn't just bam, boom, it didn't happen that way. It was well clearly planned. It was very much clearly organized. And then it was presented. That takes leadership, that takes teamwork. And that is how the product gets sold very efficiently. Now, next we can, now that we have seen the story of the origin of Bharatanatyam, we a little bit of the theoretical side of dance. The first thing that comes to mind when we see a dancer or a dance is a bhava and rasa. Bhava, what is bhava? Bhava is an emotion or facial expression. The moment I see a baby crying, then I run to her, oh, please don't. That is the facial expression. It's not forced. It comes to you naturally. That is bhava, which comes to you without any kind of pressure on you. The rasa is the reaction of the child. When you go and hug her, what does the child feel? Feels secure, and it stops crying, and it starts to enjoy the mimical features that the mother or whoever is soothing her is doing. So that's how bhava and rasa goes hand in hand. Bhava is an emotional state that is portrayed by the dancer, whereas rasa, which means taste, which is pure essence, refers to the sentiment or the reaction that is invoked in the audience by the dance. When we see certain particular scenes, we cry. We literally cry. Now that is rasa. And the dance who is evoking that reaction in you, she is exhibiting bhava in its purest state. Now there are so many Sai bhavas, we have Vichari bhava, it's so deep. Now let's stop there and then let's move on to the rasa types, which we see in everyday life. Now the picture that I have shared here, it shows the Navarasas. The first one is Shringaram. Shringaram is something that shows beauty, the charm. When a heroine meets a hero, or when a little girl sees a bowl full of a fruit that she loves, that is Shringara. The next one that here it shows is Adbhutam. I'm going downwise. Adbhutam, the surprise. Wow, my mom really did this to me. My father really got this present to me. Excellent. That is Adbhutam. And beneath that is Raudram. Whenever, as a mother, most of my examples go in terms of a mother because I'm a mother myself. And it's very easy for me to relate in terms of that way. And everyone, I'm sure you also can understand it easily that way. And Raudram, whenever a mother sees a tiffin full of lunch that has been written home, that is where Raudram stays. She cannot take it. I prepare such a beautiful lunch and give it to you and you just bring it back to me. There it is, Raudram. The next one is Hasya, the laughter, the silly things that we all enjoy. Even the silliest thing that brings the smallest smile in us, that is Hasya. Next is Bhibhatsam, disgusting. Oh, yuck, what is this? You, gross. That is Bhibhatsam. Then you have Admutam, we already saw that. Next is Bhayanakam, a snake. Just looking at take me, the moment I see the snake, I just vacate the spot off. I never return to that place for the next 1 week. So that's Bhayanaka. And the next one is Raudram, we have discussed. Hashyam, Adbhutam, Karunyam. Karunyam is something each and every one of us need to have. Karunyam is mercy. You can call it as mercy, or you can call it as a pathetic state, a begging state. That is Karunyam. The final one is Shanta, the tranquil state. Whenever we sleep, whenever we find 5 minutes to ourselves in the whole wide day, in a very long day, that is Shanta. So Nandikeshwara in his Abhinaya Darpana cites that Yato hasta tato drishti, yato drishti tato manah, yato manah tato bhava, yato bhava tato rasah. It's such a beautiful and simple to explain, simple to understand sloka, which just says, it just says where the hand goes, the eyes follow. If I do this, I need to look at the hand to make the mudra more meaningful. And where the eye goes, the mood goes. The moment I set my hands on the flower, it gives a very separate beauty to the position that you are seeing. Where the mood goes, the mind goes. Only when you set the eyes and your mood in your mudra, you will be able to focus on it and give your best. Your emotion can be expressed. Only when the mind goes, along with the sentiment arises. Sentiment arises means the audience will be able to applaud what you're doing, compliment what you're doing. So these Navarasas are very, very, very much important aspect of dance, as per we see that in each and every day in our own lives. The next detail that we will be seeing is the Nritya and Natya. It's easy. Nritya is pure dance. Now, just like we have the beginner's piece, which we call as a warm-up piece, called as the Alaripu. It goes like, it is in Rupatatala, and it goes like tam tita tai tatai tam tita tai tatai tam tita tai tatai tam tita tai tam tita tai tatai tam tita tai tatai tam tita tai tatai tam tita tai. And it just goes all the way. The whole piece goes all the way. And the only rasa that I follow will be the Shringara rasa, and that's it. And the footwork will be going on. What about that? So such an abstract and pure dance, that is called as Nritya. Nritya. Nritya means the footwork and the bodily movements when it combines with the facial expressions. That becomes Nritya. Now let me just demonstrate a very small paragraph from Meenakshi Pancharatnam. I myself from the southernmost part of India, Madurai, so I really wanted to honor Meenakshi Amma. So now this is Nritya, the one that I'm doing right now. Udyat bhanu sahasra koti sadrusham keyura arojvalam bhimboshtim smita panka danta ruchira pitambaralankrita Vishnu Brahma Surendra Sevita Pada Tatvaswarupam Shiva Meenakshim Pranatosmi Santatamaham Karunya Varamniti. Now there goes, that is your Nritya. It has your footwork, it has your bodily movements, and the expressions to convey the message. What is the message? Udyat bhanu sahasra koti satrusha. Just like when the sun rises, the thousands and millions of the radiance of the sun, it just reflects in the beautiful face of Meenakshi Amba. Bimboshtim smita panka danta ruchira. The divine climber that holds the fruit. It just like the red cherry fruit, her beautiful lips align. Vishnu, Brahma, Surendra, Sevita Pata. Vishnu, Brahma, and Surendra, that is the Indra. All these three bow your feet. Meenakshim means the one who has the beautiful eyes like a fish. Meenakshim, Pranatosmi Santatamaham Karunya Varamiti. Help me with the ocean of mercy. whenever I chant this to you. That is Nritya. So, in the other words, in the very easiest way for people to understand, or for how I usually say to the kids, remember, just think about your father taking your bike and going for a ride. When there is no trouble, when there is no traffic, he just goes like, drrrr. There's no adventure or nothing. It's just a monotonous thing. That is Nritya. Nritya is something like the moment you take the bike, the tire bursts, and finally you find a mechanic, get it fixed, and then you go on the road and you hit each and every signal on the way. How many expressions do you face? Now that is Nritya. It's just like that. Pure dance, that is Nritya. Dance with the help of expression and many adventures mixed together. It's more exciting. Nritya is very, very, very much more exciting. So when the combination of Nritya and Nritta are put together at the right amount, a very successful presentation, a very successful performance can be given. And the next context we will be moving on to is Natya Dharmi and Loka Dharmi. Now that we saw that, now that you also understand that Nritya is a very exciting topic, it's very interesting to watch. That is the main thing we need to understand. Now, what is Natya Dharmi and what is Loka Dharmi? Natya Dharmi is a performance which consists of all the events that's too technical. That's really, really mathematical, technical, thalas, ragas, everything put together. And only the artists who are very much well versed in their subject can enjoy it. That is Natya Dharmi. Whereas Loka Dharmi is something that everyone enjoys, any commoner enjoys, even a layman enjoys. Now that is Loka, as the name represents, Loka, Lok, people, each and everyone can enjoy it. That is Loka Dharmi. Now, speaking on this topic, I would like to share a very interesting controversy that laid on this context between the two legendary dancers. Yeah, that's Lokadarmi and Arke. Right. These are the two legendary dancers that I would like you to just take a look on Rukmani Devi Arundel ji and Bala Saraswati ji. They call this controversy as Shringara Rasa controversy. What is the main gist of this is Rukmani Devi had her own ideas of dance, whereas Bala Saraswati ji, she had her own ideas of dance. Rukmani Devi, she was the one who contributed the very beautiful and glittery dressing and exquisite jewelry style and the stage props. When we do this item, the backdrop should be this, all this decoration should be this, all those grammatical things, she was the one who started implementing. Whereas Bala Saraswati was the one who was very clear in her words that you don't need any kind of prop when you have art as your weapon. You need to express anything with using your limbs, using your face, using your body, using your feet. And the prop is not a material. It doesn't matter. That was the controversy between them. One other thing was the eroticism. Whenever the song says that the hero and the heroine meets, we do this. We do this. We do this. And we also depict like the hero comes and kisses her, hugs her, and all such things were not the cup of tea for Rukmani ji. She says only the subtle feelings should be expressed. Not the intimate details should be expressed on the stage. Whereas Bala Saraswati ji said, only when you convey your innermost true feelings outside, only then you're giving 100% in your dance. You cannot hide any of your emotions. That's not dance. That was the controversy between both of them. So here, once again, most of the pieces that were performed by Rukmani ji was like Natya Dharmi. It followed all the grammatical rules and everything. But the main essence, according to me, this is my view that I'm sharing. if even now we can see the performances that has been constructed by the Kalakshetra, composed by the Kalakshetra, I feel something is missing. Something is missing means certain thing is hidden and you need to understand it by yourself. But that doesn't happen. Not everyone can understand those details unless you put it in forward to them. Whereas Bala Saraswati Amma and her disciples' performance also I have seen, which is like, it's right there. It's like a mural. It's like a colorful painting. Each and every detail you can see and you can enjoy. You can actually live. Uh, when during her performances and her way of conveying the message, you can live through virtually all the dance scene. Now, there was an incident during the All India Dance Conference that happened long back. I don't remember the year, but in Mumbai, which was an 8-day ordeal. And all the 8 days, Rukmani Devi and Balasat, many gigantic legends they were performing. And one day, both of their performances were aligned back to back. The slot was back to back. The first one was Rukmani Devi's, and the next one was Bala Saraswati Amma's. So Rukmani Devi, they depicted a plot from Kuravanji. Kuravanji is the fortune teller story. So it need lots of props, and the stage was like, it was like getting inside another world. The whole stage was decorated with so many props, this and that. You name it, everything was there on the stage. And amidst of that, her dance was flawless, and it went so beautifully well. The audience were like cheering her like crazy. The very next slot was Bala Saraswati Amma's. And just 5 minutes after Rukmani Devi leaves the stage and Bala Saraswati enters the stage is totally empty. It's devoid of any kind of decoration because it was all done by the Rukmani Devi ji's team, and they had taken up almost everything. There was not even a backdrop, but just the wall. Now this is how would we view this? I don't understand. Even till now, even my father and I used to think what would have been going on in Rukmani Devi's mind or Bala Saraswati's mind. But you know what? Bala Saraswati ji, she took that as a challenge. I don't need anything. I myself said art is the weapon. Now I have the weapon, and I have my weapon very sharp and very ready. So I am going to present it in the most beautiful way. And that day, her performance had been the best she had ever performed right from her childhood. It was such a moving performance. The audience were like, they were not able to compare, or they were spellbound. That was the only word that you can say. So my point here is, whenever you are going to present a performance somewhere, think about the audience who are going to come there. Follow your marga, set your songs, set the theme of the performances based on the audience. Because a performance can become successful only when the rasa is invoked in the audience. Otherwise, it's not a win-win situation. Each and every program should be a win-win situation. It should be a win for the performer who puts so much effort and puts her heart and soul in her dance. It should be a win to the audience who come and sit there with burdens on their shoulder and in their mind. And once they see the performance, it all just goes poof. There is the win-win situation. That is how planning and the how to pre-plan, organize the program has to be done. So next we are moving on to the 4 tools of a dancer. How a dancer should be. A dancer should be well versed in the Angikam. There is one other sloka, another beautiful sloka, which we call as Dhyana sloka, and we recite it almost on every auspicious day before dancing. Angikam bhuvanam yashya vachikam sarva vangmayam aharyam chandra taradi tam vande satvikam shiva. Here, 4 abhinayas have been explained so beautifully. Angikam, which denotes the body language and the limbs. Vachikam denotes the spoken or the sung words. Aharya, which is the makeup and the costume that the dancer wears. And Satvikam is the expression or the emotions that she invokes. Now, Angika Abhinaya, Vachika Abhinaya, Aharya Abhinaya, and Satvika Abhinaya, when all put together, only then the performance becomes a complete one. Even if we miss one of these, the performance lacks something. So all the four at the correct proportion is the best secret for success. You can sell your product right there. This is the secret. All those four abhinayas put together, bound together, glued together in the correct proportion. That's what is very, very, very important. And the next, what I would like to discuss is the stage. The structure of a dance theater. Management plays a very important role in setting up of a stage. Now, this particular detail that I'm going to share, I have taken from one of the 5 biggest epics, big time epics of Tamil literature, Silappadigaram, uh, which was written by Ilango Vadigal. And he says that a dance theater cannot be built wherever you want. It also has a lot of instructions and rules and regulations that to be followed. Why? We will see that later. But first, according to him, a dance stage, how it should be constructed, means how the stage ambience should be. The land on which it is built should be free of evil omens. It shouldn't be a temple property. Performance area should have 2 doorways, one for entry, one for exit. The lighting that we use should be in such a way that the shadow of the 4 pillars, see right there on the picture, you have the 4 pillars, should not fall on the stage or on the audience. The next, any 3 types, all the stages should have 3 types of screens to be used. What are those? The single-sided moving screen, the double-sided moving screen, and the roller down type moving screen. The decoration could be done with the flowers or the pearls. Now, it is believed that by constructing such a stage, the aesthetics of the performance can be preserved. It is also believed and have been understood and realized that the vibrations when you dance on such a knowledgeably built stage can actually alter the movement of the dancer and the one who sits and watches the dance. There is no proof for it. Only thing is you have to just go and feel it. Just think about, if you haven't done this before, please do it sometime in near future. Go to a temple and watch a dance program. Amidst of all the chaos, if the program, as I said, it is well put with all the 4 abhinayas proportionately, you will certainly enjoy and come back light-hearted, your burden released, and you will be in kind of a peace. You won't be able to explain it, but you will be feeling lighter. That is the power of the place that is knowledgeably built for the purpose. And the dancer who has followed all the agamas, all the shastras that has been said on the 36 chapters of Natya Shastra. Now, historically, the stages draw the scientific connection between the mudras and the physical mental well-being. Now that we have spoken about the stage and managing the stage, managing the dance decorations, managing how the screen should be, managing how the orchestra, the accompaniments should be given the seat. The first one should be the mridangist. The next one should be the nattuvanar, who is the teacher, the guru. The next one should be the vocalist. The next one should be the violinist. The next one should be the flutist. That is the order. These are all already set, keeping in mind the harmony. This harmony is needed for a well output of very good performance. This harmony shouldn't be disturbed. That is what. Now next, we speak about mudras. Now the dancer dances on the stage might be all Vishmaka, the divine architect's design and everything. But the dancer, she plays a very important role in bringing us the feeling of lightness, enlightenment and fulfillment. Now, we are coming back to mudras, a very, very important topic that I would say. Being a dancer myself, just give me a moment. Right. Now, mudras, the sages theorized the presence of 5 natural elements: the fire, air, ether, earth, and water in our bodies in certain proportions. Each finger among this hand, each finger is a representative of one of the elements. The thumb for the fire, which is Agni, the index finger for the Vayu, the middle finger for ether, that is Akash, the ring finger earth, that is Prithvi, and the little finger for water, that is Jal. Using the combination of these mudras, just by folding our own hands, the pent-up anger, depression, guilt, unexpressed gratitude, or any kind of negative emotion which always causes a physical discomfort can be rectified. Appropriate mudras, when used, they form a seal, and the seal, they call it as a closed circuit. Now, this closed circuit gives an energy which reaches the brain and stimulates it and helps us to overcome whatever discomfort that we have been experiencing. Now, commonly speaking, yoga states that the fingers of our hand represent the Pancha Mahabhutas, or the 5 elements, just like how I said now. Touching one finger with the other in different combination creates circuits in our body through which the energy flows. So such a flow of energy allows the body to gain better circulation of blood, indirectly formulating long-term health benefits. Different hastas are used to communicate specific ideas, events, actions, or creatures. The basic mudras, which are common to Indian classical dances, were originally used by Devadasis who performed in temples for the entertainment of gods and goddesses. Now we use, in the picture also we have different kinds of mudras. Now let me show a few mudras and the health benefit of those mudras. The Hamsasya, we hold it like this, Hamsasya mudra, which we show in dance. They call it as Jnana mudra. When held like this, they call it as Jnana mudra. The Hamsasya hasta in dance represents the shape of a swan. When we want to show a swan that is sailing on a beautiful river, we show like that. It is similar to the Jnana mudra in yoga. This increases the memory power and enhances concentration and prevents insomnia. Insomnia is nothing but lack of sleep. Trishula. The next one is Trishula. The Trishula, which means trident. When we show Ambal, when we show a killing of a demon, we use the Trishula mudra. This matches the Varun mudra, which is claimed to balance the water content in our body and prevent pain due to the inflammation or shrinkage of muscles. So, whenever you use this mudra, we feel relieved, we feel relaxed. The next one is the Mayura Hasta. We call it as a peacock. When we show a peacock, when we show a beak of a peacock, we use this. Mayura Hasta, symbolizing peacock, resembles the Prithvi mudra that improves the complexion of the skin and helps to increase weight. Simhamukha, we show it this way for a deer. Now, Simhamukha also represents a lion head according to the dance. Now, it is similar to Apana mudra, which regulates diabetes and helps to cure constipation and piles. Kattari Mukha Hasta, this represents a scissor. In dance terms, we show for a conflict or a different person, we use this Kattari Mukha. This, the health benefit that can be used is, it removes the vitamin deficiency, fatigue, improves immunity, the power of eyes, and reduces eye-related diseases. One moment. All right. Now, almost this, the mudras, how can be related to managing a situation is, you may be meeting someone who have certain kind of depression or anger or guilt or anything. You can suggest them to try using these mudras. Just they, of course, they should be taught in a more professional way, and I'm very sure they will realize the beautiful benefits related to health and the mind. And mudras actually bring a very good state of mental health and well-being. Now, I'm almost through everything that I was about to share with you. Coming to the conclusion, a good aesthetics should satisfy our deep intuitive sense of what is right, what is good, and what is beautiful. Each and every field of occupation has its own aspect of management techniques. In dance and theatre, performing is just a part, but planning and preparations prior to and after the performance requires a lot of planning, and that involves a lot of managerial techniques. A dancer needs to be well versed in such techniques, and only then she can make a good guru. Of course, a guru should be a person who should be looked upon whenever. When she is empowered with all these knowledges, she will be able to help, at least in a small part of way, to her students. Now, I'm pretty much through my presentation. I think I have discussed my point of view and relating my topic with the management side as much as my knowledge serves. Anyway, thank you so much. It was a great honor in presenting before all such honorable people. Thank you very much, Sunitaji. This opportunity is like a great thing to me. Thank you. Pranams to you. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
everyone for being patient with me.
Thank you. Thank you, Vaishnavi. That was wonderful. And that was really very educating, I must say, that you connected it with dance. Can you stop your screen sharing?
Oh, yeah. Oh, sure. One second. Yes.
So in this session, what we thought that how can we have insights from music, theater, and performing arts to contribute to build aesthetics in management. Management has become a dry area where it's creating more and more stress. So with this in the mind, and with my exposure while lecturing in US, I thought our ancient scripture, Bharat Muni, who was an ancient Indian philologist, museologist, and who wrote Natyashastra. So it was in this spirit we had planned this session. Detailed report will be presented by Dr. Tarsin Mondal. So the Natyashastra has been explained very beautifully. I would like to say that the primary goal is to transport the individual in the audience into another parallel reality, full of wonder, where he experiences the essence of his own consciousness and reflects on spiritual and moral questions. That was very beautifully discussed about Mr. Sumit Anand and Vaishnavi both. Why do we talk about this? Aesthetics as a way of knowing, and therefore this session. The theater and performance of management, management insights from classical music, crafting management and management studies, from art of performing to art of managing. This was in my mind when I decided for this webinar. And the volume under preparation is focusing on these 5 areas. So I once again thank all the distinguished speakers for the day. Now I request Dr. Tarsin Mondal, the report here for this session, to take up the question and answer if there is any, and present his detailed report. Dr. Mondal.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. I think there are no questions, ma'am.
You present the report.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Pankaj sir, Dr. Sumit Anand sir, and Vaishnavi ma'am, TN Vaishnavi ma'am. It's really a wonderful presentations by the all eminent speakers. And I think Bharata itself said, "Nahi rasadrite कश्चिदर्थः प्रवर्तते", अर्थात रस के बिना कोई कार्य में प्रवर्तित नहीं होता है। और डॉक्टर पंकज मिश्रा इज वेरी वेल सेड, शने शने यन्नवतम
उपैति।
तदेव रूपं रमणीयताया, अर्थात जो सन सन में मतलब जो समय समय पर बहुत ही मतलब नए रूप पे आते हैं, उसे ही जो है रमणीय रूप पे आते हैं, उसे ही जो है सुंदरता या एस्थेटिक्स कहते हैं। ही ऑल्सो स्टेटेड सौंदर्य शास्त्र इज द सिनोनिम of aesthetics, and art is an expression of all characteristics of the human mind and its characters. And I think the whole lecture is based on rasa theory, and particularly I said, I think Pankaj sir, Vaishnavi ma'am and Sumit Anand sir also highlighted on rasa. Bharat Muni stated that vibhava अनुभाव व्यभिचारी भाव संयोगत रस निष्पत्ति, अर्थात विभाव, अनुभाव और व्यभिचारी भाव के संयोग से जो बनते हैं वो रस होते हैं। और इसमें एक चीज में और छोटा सा और क्लियर कर देना चाहता हूँ, ये जो होल नाट्य शास्त्र है ये दर्शक अर्थात ऑडियंस के लिए ही बनाया गया है। और अगर इस पूरे लेक्चर को हम समराइज करते हैं ठीक ठाक, तो उसमें भरत मुनि ने खुद कहे हैं कि जग्राह पाठम ऋग्वेदात सामभ गीतमेव च यजुर्वेदाद भीनयान रसान अथर्वणद अपि, अर्थात he has taken dialogue from Rigveda, song from Samveda, acting from Yajurveda, and most important part rasa from Atharva Veda. Pankaj sir highlighted on several types of he also elaborately discussed on management aspects, Natya Shastra, and several aspects of Natya Shastra, and he stated, and he also give the references on from Sisupal Vadha, अभिज्ञान शाकुंतलम लब्धम नेत्रे निर्वाणम, मीन्स मेरे आंखों को जो मोक्ष मिल गई, ये कालिदास ही कह सकते हैं। मतलब ये संस्कृत में जो उपमा कालिदास से कहा जाता है, तो बिल्कुल ही है कि आंख को भी अगर कोई ये कल्पना कर ही नहीं सकते कि आंख को मोक्ष मिल जाते हैं, तो ये जो एस्थेटिक्स उनके अंदर है, जो सौंदर्य है, ये कालिदास या संस्कृत जो राइटर है बहुत अच्छे से वो वर्णन करते हैं। और इसमें खासतौर पे और अगर देखा जाता है कि कालिदास इज मास्टर्स इन डेप्थ, ही डायरेक्टेड द ऑल क्लास इन हिज राइटिंग। कालिदास सभी क्लास को मतलब सभी जन को वो बहुत अच्छे तरीके से वो अपने नाटकों में वो वर्णन करते हैं। और सुमित आनंद सर और खासतौर के पंकज मिश्रा सर ने और भी बहुत सारे, जैसे घोषवती जो वीणा है, इन सारे जो एंशियंट टाइम में जो रेफरेंसेस मिलते हैं उन्होंने बहुत अच्छे ढंग से तारीफ, जैसे रामायण में क्या क्या है, अर्थशास्त्र में नृत्य के बारे में कहा गया, तो वो सारे चीज। और ये जो नाट्यशास्त्र क्यों रचा गया, भरत मुनि वाई ही रोटेड द नाट्यशास्त्र, उन्होंने कहा कि न तच, ये नाट्यशास्त्र क्या है, तो उन्होंने कहा कि न तच शिल्पं ना सा विद्या ना सा कला, ये बहुत अच्छी चीज जो है ये नाट्यशास्त्र में खुद उन्होंने डिस्कस कर दिया। सुमित आनंद सर के जो लेक्चर है वो बेसिकली प्रैक्टिकल एस्पेक्ट से अगर देखा जाए परफॉर्मिंग आर्ट से वो बहुत ही अच्छा। और खासकर कि इस लॉकडाउन में हमने जो सामवेद के जो ध्रुपद सर हम लोगों को सुनने को मिला, वो एक विचित्र अनुभव है। थैंक यू आनंद सर कि आपने इस लॉकडाउन के टाइम में भी आप हम लोगों को ये सुना दिए। और खास तौर पे उन्होंने बहुत अच्छे से सारे नाद के बारे में और इसमें हाईलाइट किए। और इसमें जो है अल्टीमेट गोल, अगर संस्कृत या एंशिएंट पीरियड को देखा जाए, जो अल्टीमेट गोल होता है वो रियल आनंद होता है, ब्लिस। और वो किस तरह नाट्यशास्त्र अर्थात रसो वैसह, इसमें मेरे पीएचडी में टॉपिक थोड़ा रिलेटेड है, तो वो जो परम आनंद जो है वो परमात्मा से मिलने से ही मिलते हैं, और वो किस तरह से होता है अगर बाद में टाइम मिले तो फिर बताया जाएगा। और सुमित आनंद से बहुत अच्छे तरीके से इसको डिफाइन किया। और बेस्टियन वैष्णवी मैम ने, शी इज रियली गुड स्पीकर्स एंड शी इज, और उन्होंने बहुत अच्छे तरीके से जो मुद्रा है और जो खासतौर के जो भरतनाट्यम नृत्य के एस्पेक्ट्स उन्होंने कहा कि ताल लयाश्रयम नृत्यम, जो ताल होता है जिसमें ताल होगा लय होगा, ये संस्कृत भरत मुनि ने खुद कहा, तो उसको नृत्य कहा जाता है। और उसमें क्या क्या चीज होते हैं वो बहुत अच्छे तरीके से मैम ने हमारे सामने रखे। और इसमें खास करके जो शी वाज वेरी ब्यूटीफुली प्रेजेंट अबाउट मुद्रा, शी आल्सो डिस्कस how mudras benefited for us and several diseases cured by mudras। ये एक नया चीज हम लोग आज फर्स्ट टाइम सुनने को मिला कि मुद्रा से भी डिजीज जो है वो ठीक होते हैं। तो ये एक बहुत अच्छी चीज है कि हमारे सामने नए तरीके से इसमें आए हैं। और इसमें लास्ट में मैं यही कहना चाहूंगा कि जो बेसिकली मैनेजमेंट और ये जो एस्थेटिक्स है ये रस के ऊपर है और ये ऑडियंस के ऊपर है। अर्थात जो उन्होंने वैष्णवी मैम ने और स्टेज के बारे में कहे और जो भी है मुद्रा, ये सारे चीजें ये ऑडियंस के लिए हैं। अर्थात ऑडियंस किस तरह इससे आनंद ले सकते हैं। और संस्कृत कार्य का जो खासतौर पे भरत मुनि ने इसीलिए रचा कि वेद जो इसे पंचम वेद क्यों कहा जाता है, क्योंकि बहुत सारे लोग जो बहुत ज्यादा वेल एजुकेटेड नहीं है, लेकिन नाट्य एक या थिएटर या आर्ट एक ऐसे माध्यम है जिसमें हम जन जन तक घर घर तक पहुंच सकते हैं। और इसीलिए पंचम वेद कहा गया। क्यों? क्योंकि वो जो एथॉस है वैदिक या वैदिक कल्चर के, वो नाट्य शास्त्र के द्वारा हर मतलब वर्ग के अंदर इसको पहुंचाया गया है। तो बहुत सिंपली ढंग से एक्टिंग के द्वारा, ड्रामा के द्वारा, और यही काम है। मतलब हम लोग कहते हैं कि लिटरेचर इज द मिरर ऑफ सोसाइटी। सोसाइटी में जो होता है मिरर, और इसमें हम कह सकते हैं कि नाट्य शास्त्र जो है वो वेद के जो रस है वो निचोड़ के कैसे लाया जा सकता है एक्टिंग की तरह, वो बिल्कुल इसमें प्रेजेंट किया गया है। और इसमें और दो तीन चीज कि रस जो है, मैंने पहले भी कहा कि वैष्णवी मैम ने कहा कि नवरस, भरत stated primarily four rasas and another four rasas comes from them। अर्थात चार रस पहले उन्होंने बताया भरत मुनि ने, उसी चार रस से दूसरे चार रस आते हैं, और एडवांस पीरियड में फिर वो नव रस आए। और वो एक एक कैसे आते हैं, इसमें बहुत सारे लोग भी क्वेश्चन करते हैं। जैसे अगर करुण रस होते हैं हमारे, मैंने पहले भी कहा कि आनंद रस के मूल लक्ष्य है, तो करुण रस में कैसे आनंद होगा? इंसान मतलब मनुष्य तो या ऑडियंस उसमें रोते हैं। यही बात है कि वो उसमें रोते हैं जब रामायण हम देखते हैं, जब राम भगवान श्री राम ने सीता को लेकर जब वनवास जाते तो पूरी अयोध्या नगरी जो है रोते हैं। लेकिन उसमें भी और भी बहुत सारी चीजें जो उसमें एक परम खुशी होता है, वो जो है वो फिलोसॉफिकल टर्मिनोलॉजी से अगर देखा जाए, बेसिकली हमने जब रस को देखेंगे, इसमें 3 टाइप्स ऑफ रसस है। एक आयुर्वेदिक पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से होते हैं, और एक जो नाट्य रस आज डिस्कस हुआ, और एक फिलोसॉफिकल रसस हम उसे कह सकते हैं। और वो फिलोसॉफिकल जो रस है वो अल्टीमेट गोल है। वो क्या है कि जो सुप्रीम जो गॉड है या जो सुप्रीम पावर है, उनसे जो साक्षात है उनको प्राप्ति ही मूल लक्ष्य है। तो घुमा फिरा के बात वही आती है कि आनंद जो है वो मूल लक्ष्य है, और वो ऐसे आनंद नहीं, संस्कृत में या जो हमारे एंशिएंट पीरियड में जो आनंद की बात होता है वो ईश्वर से साक्षात रखे। और पंकज सर ने भी बहुत अच्छे से कि जो टेम्पल है साउथ इंडिया में खास तौर के देखने को मिलता है, उसमें जो डांस के जो एक आर्ट है, अलग अलग जो पोस्चर्स है या गेस्चर्स है, उसमें बहुत अच्छे से उसमें किया गया है। तो उससे भी हमें बहुत सारे, और खास करके मैं थैंक यू कहना चाहता हूँ सारे स्पीकर्स को ऑन द बिहाफ ऑफ वैदिक फाउंडेशन ऑफ इंडियन मैनेजमेंट। थैंक यू इतने बहुत अच्छे सेशन के लिए। आप सभी को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। थैंक यू मैम।
Thank you very much. Tomorrow we'll meet again at the same time, 4 o'clock, and the theme for tomorrow's webinar is Global Climate Change and Ecosystem Management Insights from Vedic Literature. नमस्कार और सभी का बहुत